different. Right, let's start with Willian. Loads of speculation he'd be gone in the summer to either Juventus to team up with Sarri, if he's still there, or Barcelona, who have courted him for a while, but probably would still be happy to have him after all this time because he would be free, and it would suit the player because he'd probably get a 2 or 3 year-long contract in either of these respective clubs, when Chelsea are reluctant to give any more than 12 months extensions to anyone over 30. Willian contract talks have been going on for a while now at Chelsea, and people are unsure whether he's gonna stay beyond a year at Chelsea, but the player himself has come out and said news of his contract will be known soon. Willian also went on to comment saying he's said many times how he loves playing at Chelsea, he wants to stay at Chelsea, his family is settled in London, he loves living in London. He's basically reiterated the point that he loves being here and news of his contract extension will come out soon. So it looks like Willian is here to stay. That might divide opinion, but he's been great for Frank Lampard, even if he's not scoring and assisting. The players that are on their way out and certainly looking like a January exit would be both Pedro Rodriguez and Marcos Alonso. Pedro recently commented of how he'd like to go back to Spain, how it looks like a difficult possibility, but he's been heavily linked with a move up to Birmingham this January to team up with ex-skipper John Terry and play for Aston Villa under Dean Smith. This looks like a good move. He'd probably start most games, if not all games, in Premier League football. He's still a good player, Pedro, and I imagine he'd score a few goals for Aston Villa. And John Terry would probably put in a good word for him with coach Dean Smith. Personally, I can see this happening, but like I said, as usual, watch this space. I'll keep you guys updated on football therapy, so make sure you check in daily. Another exit is Marcos Alonso to Atletico Madrid. He was heavily linked to Inter Milan to team up with ex-Chelsea boss Antonio Conte, which made loads of sense for me. He'd start as a left wing back or be rotated in left wing back, and he knows exactly what Conte wants. Plus he could win a Scudetto there, maybe. But with Atletico, they're struggling. And the main reason they're struggling is because they've changed their philosophy. They've had a huge turnover of personnel, and despite buying loads of attacking players these last few windows, they're struggling to score goals. I'm not sure signing Marcos Alonso as maybe a conventional left back will ever sort out any problems, but he does get the odd goal and he's a good dead ball specialist, so maybe they fancy a bit of that, and maybe they fancy they can get a good deal from Chelsea as he's not playing. Either way, I think it could happen. I think the player probably wants out at this point, and Frank Lampard doesn't really look interested in him anymore. He looks to play Azpilicueta or Emerson at left back, and Alonso is third choice left back in a team with only really 2 left backs. So adios Marcos Alonso. Like I said, I'll keep you posted, swing by football therapy, but it does look like this could happen. Next up, shout out to Fikayo Tomori, who's just signed a 5-year contract extension at Chelsea Football Club. The latest in a long list of players to swear allegiance to Chelsea man Frank Lampard and basically get his head down into the new project. Great news really. It kind of maybe closes speculation about who's the next centre-back to suffer when a new potential centre-back comes in, or indeed if one will come in at all with the return of big Tony Rudiger. Certainly, as things stand, it does look like Rudiger, Tomori and Zuma are the top 3, and maybe Andreas Christensen will suffer if any centre-back does indeed leave. But Tomori's a great player. He's one of the kids that have been around Chelsea since he was very small. He's a very good footballing centre-back. His recovery pace is unmatched in the Premier League. He can get back very quickly when the ball's gone past him. And he's already worked under Frank Lampard for a while now, if you include last season. Chelsea gaffer Lamps will be very happy with this contract extension, as will the player, as will his comrades around him. So generally, another good feel-good factor at Stamford Bridge. Alright, before we talk about the potential return of Jeremy Boga, which is a huge story, and the forgotten man of Marco van Ginkel, let's talk about Ben Chilwell. Chilwell has been heavily linked to Chelsea of late, and he would be an excellent signing for the Blues. Ashley Cole recently came out and said how he would love to bring Chilwell to Chelsea, how Chilwell would do really well at Chelsea. Plus, amid all the media speculation of the links between the player and the club, Brendan Rodgers has now commented on this. Rodgers came out and said, if you're doing well, there will always be speculation. The boys understand that, but there'll be no one leaving in January. Categorically. I'm sure if we speak to the hierarchy, they will say the same message. I speak regularly with John, that's the director of football. It's very clear that we want to keep the squad together. We want to ensure they stay around beyond January. So, categorically, sounds pretty strong. It would probably take Ben Chilwell putting in a transfer request, digging his heels in, and Chelsea throwing incredible money at Leicester City for this to happen. This was always going to be one of the more unlikely transfers to happen in January, but Roger's comments kind of sort of puts the nail in the coffin. So it looks like he's staying at Leicester in January, and that probably does make sense for the player. Although Chelsea will absolutely reignite their interest in the summer and try and bolster that left back position, where really they do need reinforcement. Next up, Marco van Ginkel, Chelsea's attacking midfielder who's long had problems with injury. Went out on loan in Holland and had an excellent time, scoring a lot of goals and captaining his side to the Eredivisie title as a loanee. Superb. More of a senior figure now in his late 20s, but a very, very good player indeed, and he's been back in training at Cobham for nearly a month now. I wanted to bring this up because Chelsea have been linked with the odd attacking midfielder number 10. At first I was like, why are Chelsea being linked with midfielders when they have so many? But really, this is for the number 10 role. Sure, Mason Mount's made that his own, and yes, Christian Pulisic can play in the number 10, but it's better he's kept out wide where he does his best work. So really, the only one putting pressure on Mason Mount for the number 10 spot is out of favour Ross Barkley, who I think eventually could be making his way out of the club as well. Yeah, loads of people will be saying Ruben Loftus-Cheek, but the truth is, that's not Ruben's best position. Ruben's best position on the pitch is left centre mid, or indeed a midfield 2, driving from deep with the ball and floating out wide and carrying the ball. Loftus-Cheek playing in the hole in the number 10 role is wasted. So really, if you have another player that can be a dedicated number 10 like Marco van Ginkel, he can really challenge Mason Mount, push his levels higher, and they can rotate when needed when the other player is fatigued. I just wanted to pose the question because he is around Cobham, he is Chelsea's player, he has proven to be very, very talented, and he's there, he's available. Think about it. Maybe Frank Lampard is keeping a key eye on him and he thinks it's best that people just aren't talking about him at the moment. Who knows? Watch this space, Football Therapy will keep you updated. Right, and finally, Jeremy Boga, a player that I've commented on before. Chelsea sold him to Sassuolo in Italy and he's been playing very, very well, the young 22-year-old Frenchman. A couple of years ago at Chelsea, people were looking at him as, wow, this kid can really, rise up and be a new star at Chelsea, a new flair, attacking forward, midfielder kind of player. It was maybe 2 or 3 years ago in a pre-season where both him and Belgian player Charlie Musonda, people were looking at these two players going, wow, these kids can be the one to take Chelsea forward. At the time, people were sort of looking at Musonda as the one a bit more developed, but Boga always looked very, very good, but he was never really given a chance and he was put away on loan and then eventually sold. Chelsea have a buyback clause of only £3.5 million, and Barcelona have come around sniffing him at the moment and are looking very interested. This could be another Nathan Ake situation with City coming around sniffing him and Chelsea getting a bit more nervous and potentially thinking, God, we've got to trigger the buyback clause so that City don't get him. Maybe they feel a little bit like that with Jeremy Boga and Barcelona. But the truth is, if Boga is happy to be a rotational player, he would be the perfect replacement for outgoing Pedro Rodriguez. And also, if he does really well in the Chelsea team when given the chance, say in the FA Cup when that comes back round, or some home teams against some lower league Premier League opposition, if he does well, who knows, he might play himself into the team a bit more, and his sale to Sassuolo and buyback was a successful endeavour. Anyway, who knows? It's a really interesting one. I think Chelsea should consider it because obviously in terms of realistic January acquisitions, that's got to be top of the list, surely. Anyway, what do you guys think? Get down in the comments, let me know your thoughts.